And if that is not the best thing you've seen today, I don't know what to tell you, but we're going to try to one-up it. Welcome to the FCS Friday night pregame. We're just hanging out, talking a little FCS for about an hour, roll you right on into that big old Weber State, Montana State game tonight on ESPN. You joining me, we have the man who made that beautiful intro, the unbiased Bison admin, Matthew Frazee. How are you, Matthew?
I am wonderful. A little bit of campfire music in the background. It's a beautiful Friday night for FCS football. I can't wait. This is exciting.
Right. And obviously Kyler Neal, who I hate for about 48 more hours.
Shut your dirty mouth.
And joining us, we have the Rev, Dustin Helton, the other Texan on the show. How are you, Dustin?
I'm great. The changeover from the countdown music to Matt's music it killed me. I'm sorry. It just cracked me up.
Yeah, that was actually pretty wild. Yeah, so this show, it's new. We're gonna test it out. Everybody wants like the Saturday game day Lee Corso FCS show, and maybe we get there at some point. But hey, right now, why not just take Fridays? Like, get you guys all ready for a nice little cool Saturday morning, and we'll just hang out Friday nights. This is gonna be like pretty unscripted. We're just gonna talk FCS football, and then we've got other FCS Fans Nation or Fans Nation Network people that also have the invite to StreamYard, so they might pop in and out throughout the show. This is interactive, so whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Twitter, or you're on YouTube, you can comment and ask us any ridiculous questions like, Duck, Duck, Gray Duck, and Duck, Duck, Goose, and all those old classics that
Duck, Duck, Gray Duck
thrown in throughout the show. But
a hot dish or casserole. Idiots.
The first thing, guys, I think the one thing I want to start the show with. So how long till the NCAA starts to investigate URI for improper benefits?
Probably tomorrow.
If you're dealing with Robert Kraft and the Patriots, something shady's going on, right? At a minimum, something shady. But they're not going to end up on ESPN 30 for 30 if they don't go undefeated, win a championship, and then the scandal comes out about like the NFL playing and improper benefits. That's the only way you get on an ESPN 30 for 30. You have to have a scandal.
They're gonna be on ESPN Ocho de Cinco.
Well, I think
just
Robert
the Chad
Kraft,
Johnson channel.
Robert Kraft's just so annoyed that he keeps getting all of these cheating things with the Patriots team. So he's like, I want to just ruin another program. Let me go down to the FCS level. Let me give them a private plane, strippers, booze, and all that, and we'll see what happens. Actually, it's pretty cool though. They're gonna fly in the private plane instead of bus 7 hours. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty dope. Like, I saw that on Twitter and I was like, dude, NDSU's been to the White House, but flying on an NFL jet like that from top tier football level, that is really dope. I was envious.
Aren't the Patriots the only one that have their own private jet too? Like, I think that's a thing. I think Robert Kraft, I know
really?
Paul Allen was looking at doing it for the Seahawks with Boeing, but obviously Paul Allen passed away, RIP, and so it never happened. I think Robert Kraft is the only person that has done that.
We're going to one-up him because, Washington has a ton of billionaires. Jeffrey Bezos. We're going to go to the moon, Eastern Washington. We are going to fly to the moon and back to Idaho for this next year's game because, of course, you guys are going to travel to us this weekend. So, yeah, we're going to one-up Rhode Island.
Yeah, I guess.
Eastern's got the budget to do it.
Yeah,
it's gonna be Bezos Stadium. He's already donated $50 million. He doesn't know it yet, but Kyler's gonna find him, and once he finds him, he's writing a checkbook. You can count this as a threat. I don't care. FCS Fans Nation is gonna go in the tank now because he just threatened Jeffrey Bezos, but it's gonna happen. We're gonna have Amazon Stadium. We're going to the moon. Go Eagles.
Hey, maybe when we do media negotiation rights, Amazon will pay us, like $1.8 billion for like a 10-year contract or something.
The Big Sky's worth it.
I meant like FCS Fans Nation Network.
My bad.
Sure, I guess we were trying to give like Montana some money, but I'm not really on board with that idea.
They already got the money from Yellowstone.
Yeah,
but if it's Amazon Stadium, will you have to get rid of the Inferno and make it look like the Amazon tape job on packages instead?
No, but the stadium is going to be a giant box. So we got the beer can in the Kibbe Dome. It's just going to be a giant box dome. It's still going to be red, but that's about it.
Dude, that would be phenomenal. I literally have a serious FCS question.
Okay.
Is it just like is it seemingly too easy that everybody just thinks they should pick Weber? Like, is Montana State, honestly, I have not watched a lot about them. I know the strength of schedule is weaker, but I'm just genuinely curious. Big Sky folks, is like Montana State being completely undervalued in this game? Like, it's just sexy to pick Weber because they're not undefeated with an FBS loss, or what?
So I actually find that interesting. I guess that just goes to show the circles we're in. Our Big Sky Podcast Network chat has been pretty heavy MSU favorite. We were all talking today about like how we were shocked. The line opened what, Kyler? Do you remember? It was like 3.5 Montana State, right?
2.5.
Yeah, and we watched it move to now it got all the way up to I think 2 points Weber. Now it's down to 1. I got it at 1.5. I took Montana State, not the money line, but at least to cover. No, I'm shocked to hear that. I was surprised to see Weber State was favored, I guess. So
I wasn't surprised to see Weber State favored. I thought this was going to be a pick'em game either way. I picked MSU though. Now this is a weird game because one side you have had a team that has been tested so many times throughout the season and they just have underperformed. But they've been underperforming with a backup quarterback, another backup quarterback. They finally have their starter coming back. Then you have the other side, MSU. They haven't been tested since Wyoming, but they have looked the part. So this is one of those things. Does a tested team actually come out on top? Does a team who's looked dominant, who's played only bottom 15 FCS teams, do they come out on top? I bet on the Montana State I did on the money line and just the spread. So I think Montana State's going to cover. But at the same time, Weber finally has a starting quarterback back. They haven't had him since before the JMU game and when Weber started going downhill. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But
what about Montana State's quarterback though? Like
Captain
McKay?
Matt McKay?
Yeah, that's kind of been their quarterback. Is that the thing?
He
looks, going to get him
over
the hump. Does he look the part this year?
I think he's the number 2 quarterback in the Big Sky right now. Now he still has like 8,000 yards less than Eric Berrier this season, but over every other Big Sky quarterback, I think he's number 2 or number 3 in the conference. Where last year, or last time Montana State played, it's almost been a decade because spring. But they were only like throwing 1,000 yards a season. I think Matt McKay is already over that. I don't remember what his stats are, but Matt McKay looks the part. But again, he's looked the part versus bottom 15 teams. But he can throw. He's talented for sure. This is definitely the most talented quarterback they've had in at least the last 6 years. So it'll be interesting, but it looks like they can throw. Looks like they can run. It looks like they got their missing piece that they have been missing the last few years. But again, it's so hard to validate it because they haven't played anyone. They played Cal Poly. They played Dixie State. No, not Dixie State. San Diego. They played Butler or another Drake. That's what it was. Another Pioneer League team. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do versus their first real test. But they have looked the part.
They looked decent against Wyoming though. So I mean, I'm not saying Wyoming's end all be all of FBS opponents, but they didn't look bad against them. So
no, they looked solid. They had a chance to win too. I know the MSU guys on R&R podcast. They just keep saying it was a botched call away from MSU winning, and then maybe the whole conversation about MSU's maybe they're a top 10, maybe they're not. Some people have them in the top 10, some people don't. I do. But if they beat Wyoming on this botched call, I guess, are they a top 2 team? I mean, do they take Eastern Washington spot in the polls? Because Wyoming's definitely better than UNLV for sure. So I mean,
yeah, that's the undervalue thing I was saying, man.
Yeah, I think they're undervalued overall for the grand landscape, but at the same time, I understand why they're undervalued. They haven't had a test since week 1. In that test, they failed. And they didn't fail. They were very competitive. I don't want to make it sound like, FCS needs to beat every single FBS team, especially because Wyoming is not a bottom dweller like a UNLV. They're a much better team than UNLV, and they took them down to the wire. So, but it is weird going into this game. This is one of those games. It is a pick'em. I have no clue what's going to happen, but I'm picking MSU.
I think it's just cleaner ball game's going to win. I mean, the matchup is really good. Avoid the turnovers, do the small things right, avoid a special teams, gap that gives up a kickoff return, and that team's probably going to come up on top.
And cool. how well will Barron look in his first game back after all these injuries? We saw what Hunter Rodriguez looked like against Idaho State last weekend, because I didn't watch the game, but I just figured Hunter Rodriguez is still down. That's why they've been sloppy against Idaho. That's why they were sloppy against Idaho State. He was in, and they couldn't move a yard against Idaho State, who does not have a good team or defense.
It did not even cross my mind that Idaho State could beat UC Davis. I got a text from one of the few Idaho State guys that I know who texts us now, and
Frisco bound.
He goes, dude, people are losing it down here, and I was like, wait, what's going on? And I thought maybe it was the Montana game because Dixie was close or whatever. I'm like, wait, what's going on? Didn't even think that Idaho State was beating UC Davis. And then literally they showed the score in the Kibbie Dome last weekend. And I'm like, holy smokes, that's what Ross was talking about.
The Bengals.
The Bengals are bungling the Aggies right now.
Yeah. It was nuts. So it's going to be interesting to see how Barron comes back. He hasn't played pretty much all season since week 2. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, and we only really have the fall to look at him. And I know that he looked good, but at the same time, they also struggled in every game. It came down to a Hail Mary against NAU in the spring. They played SUU closer than they probably should have. It's they weren't blowing the doors off of people offensively in the spring. He looked more serviceable than Jake Constantine. But, no, I like Montana State in this game. It just went back up to 1.5 Weber State. Honestly, I don't get the Weber love. I was going to bet Weber because I thought Montana State would be 4.5 point favorites. But I really don't like Montana State as the favorite here. And the over-under on this game is 45.5, which is is this 2019 Montana State versus Weber where neither team can score and it's going to be 400 yards on the ground apiece and be 14-10. But, yeah, I don't know. I like Montana State to win this. I mean, my heart of hearts, I'm kind of rooting for Weber because I think if they lose this, it's hard for them to get in the playoffs. Where Montana State still has some opportunities to, stay up there. But yeah.
Matt, so you asked about the quarterback play. Matt McKay right now, 93 for 137, pretty good percentage. Again, the competition's different. 1,344 yards passing, 13 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Dang, that's not bad.
That is about 12 more touchdowns than Montana State has thrown in the last 5 years. That's a little bit of a lie, but the passing game looks very solid for MSU. But again, it's just so hard to validate. How good is this MSU team? Are they really good? Are they exactly what they've been doing to every single team, winning 40-7, 38-7? Or is it just a lack of competition so far?
The Brett Vegan effect, man.
Brett Vegan effect.
They're they're honestly in the SIU slot right now, right? SIU had to go into Brookings and win.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, dang, top 4, championship, Nick Hill. They should be favorites to win the Missouri Valley, which, good. They avoided NDSU. They got a good opportunity here. But Montana State's in that same boat where you're I kind of believe you're an 8 or a 9 on a scale. If you went opposite of the hotness scale on dating, you're an 8 and a 9, but I don't know if you're all the way up there in a 4, 3, 2.
Yeah, I don't think they're national title contenders, but they're probably flirt with the semis.
But maybe they are.
We don't know.
We all love Montana for some reason because Montana beat Washington, so we love Montana, right?
Exactly. To keep your dating analogy going, it's they're an 8 or maybe a 7 that's been dating a lot of 4s. So you're okay, do we just think that you're kind of hot because you always seem to have a 3 or 4 around,
right?
But you never seem to pull that 10 or that equal 8. This is kind of their chance to
be fair,
date at their level.
Our views just doubled when we started talking about dating. So we're done with football, everybody.
Yeah, Montana's going to get their opportunity to take the prom king to prom in a few weeks when they come to Cheney and play on the Inferno. That is their prom king matchup.
For Facebook users, you've got to enable something that allows us to see who you are. You can Google it, StreamYard, whatever.
I like not even the question. I like the comment.
User. But we know our fans. We know our fans well. We should be able to.
That's got to be
right?
Yeah,
that's gonna be Casey.
It's Casey Everett.
That's Casey.
That's gonna be Casey. Yeah.
Ooh, this could be a fun game.
Oh,
Guess the
yeah, it's got
fans.
NAU in it. It's definitely Casey Everett.
That's
or
gotta
it's,
be
or it's a
Casey.
Montana fan, because those are the teams they really hate. And maybe they're like, if NAU keeps winning,
Here,
then
I'll
we're going to
cheat.
play them. Yeah.
I'll go to the Facebook. I'm going to see who that was, but I bet
It's
you that's
gotta be
Casey
Casey.
Everett.
It's got to be Casey.
It's Jamie Williams. I'm just kidding. No, it's Casey Everett.
Ah, there you go.
Thank you,
one.
Casey. If anyone else wants to join like Casey, you can comment on Twitter. I don't know if you can on Twitter, but on Facebook and YouTube you can, and we can see your comments. Oh, it's Casey.
Yeah.
There you go, buddy.
Those are the best fans. Oh, that's Jeremiah.
Jeremiah
Wow.
Rapp.
That's Jeremiah.
Yeah, it's too easy.
Has
All
to
right,
be Jeremiah.
who's the Sam Houston fan here?
Danny Johnson.
First
gotta
time
be Danny.
tuning in though.
That's got to be Danny.
That's Danny.
Gotta be
It's gotta
Danny.
And this will be the most fun game we have. This will be great.
We don't even have to have a
Oh
show.
no, it's Kelly Wells.
Oh, Kelly.
Ooh.
Oh,
Welcome, Kelly.
Dang, we are sorry. All right, we are 2-0.
we failed on there.
Ben
Yeah.
Schlager.
Is that what they?
There's so many Bears.
No,
That's
that's
the
Will
thing.
Seiler. That's Will Seiler.
Oh, it's Will.
That's Will Seiler.
Damn. Their
I gotta
jerseys this weekend though.
They have
I
the
think
sickest
Kyler was showing
jerseys.
that. Those helmets. I'll see if I can find a picture of them. But talking
I'm
about throwback helmets.
Those were cool.
I was just about to drop the office line of which bear is best. Purple and
UCA
gray
is
bear.
doing their
Maroon
running
bear.
logo, and it's amazing.
It's so cool. Did you guys see Illinois State's also doing the same thing?
No.
So
No.
it's a white helmet with a giant red bird with like boxing gloves playing football or something like that. It was pretty cool. I totally made up the boxing gloves. I don't know why, but
We might learn to forgive you in time for lying.
it was
I don't know, though.
definitely like a red bird as a person running down the field in a football gear, though. Not boxing gloves, but that'd be even cooler. Idaho boxing state champs.
Yeah, we
We're
were
NCAA champs.
national
There
champs
you
at
go.
one point. Yeah.
Okay,
Like
so
our
we got.
only national title.
Let's
We got a
talk
wide-
about.
Oh,
I
go.
was gonna say, let's talk a little bit about this Cornell versus Colgate game, because we get a lot of Ivy League hate, and all of a sudden, an Ivy League team who has been trash is beating Colgate, who is one of the better teams out of the lower conferences, playoff, type of conferences. What is it, 28-13 at halftime right now?
Is 28-14. Spread on this game was I actually think it was Cornell 3.5, which
Because it's in Ithaca.
Yeah.
So it was a pick'em Ithaca road trip.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I know about Ithaca.
Let's see if I can.
But how do you guys feel about this? Because I know we've already talked about this in some of the podcasts and some of the episodes, but how do you feel about the Ivy League being ranked? Because obviously you're looking at a conference right now who is beating up Colgate, who's been in the playoffs. They beat James Madison as an 8 seed. Is this type of a score surprising to see? Is the Ivy League really good? Should we just say, yep, we 100% need to rank the Ivy League teams? Because I rank them.
This score isn't a surprise. Colgate lost to Brown. This isn't
Cornell's
the first
not
Ivy
good.
loss they're going to be.
Neither of these
Colgate
teams
lost
are
to
good.
like Butler. Or Cornell lost to like Butler, didn't they?
Yeah, so if you look at Colgate's schedule this year, they lost to Stony Brook, they lost to William & Mary, they beat Lehigh, but everybody else has beat Lehigh. They beat Georgetown, they lost to Brown, and now they're on their way to losing to Cornell. Right now. They also lost to Boston College, but I mean,
Well,
again,
look who Cornell lost to, Bucknell.
Wait, are we really discussing ranking the Ivies on a 2-4 versus 0-4 team? Like, is this is the setup here?
But if this is one of the worst Ivy League teams,
Welcome to Friday night at FCS Friday night.
I'm not saying rank Cornell. I'm just saying if this is one of the worst Ivy League teams, the top of the Ivy League looks good.
but Colgate's not that good,
I have no
though.
interest. I have no interest in voting somebody within the rankings that's not involved in the playoff scenarios. Like I made the point on the podcast, I'm okay ranking the HBCUs that disregard the playoffs for the Celebration Bowl because they at least get the offer. They could compete. The third place team or, the one not selected could go. But, I mean, the Ivy Leagues, they just straight up don't want to enter the arena. And those rankings really matter for the playoffs. I mean, that's, quality wins, all that stuff. I mean, how do you gauge them? How do you gauge them?
So here's the thing. 4-0 Dartmouth, or maybe it's 3-0, is going to play New Hampshire right now. Right? That could be a huge win for New Hampshire to boost their playoff resume. So that's why I'm like, if you're FCS, guess what? You should be FCS. Now, I think, the Ivy League should just go to the FBS. We already talked about this pre-show. They could easily get an invite to the FBS. They have the money. They would go in bowl games. It's such a historic conference. They're the first conference, right, for football. They started that whole thing. But I feel like right now they are playing teams from the CAA. They are playing teams from the Patriot League. They are playing teams from the NEC, and that can boost a resume if you're playing one of the top tier teams from the Ivy. So I personally I have Harvard and Princeton ranked in my top 25, and Dartmouth is just on the outside right now. If they beat UNH, I'm having 3 Ivy League teams ranked.
3 Ivy League. Wow.
I follow their recruiting too. Chris is big on recruiting. He's talked about his FCS Chris show. If you stack the Ivy League against every other conference, they crap on them for recruiting outside of Jackson State this year, who is a Power 5 recruiting team.
You just stole I was going to transition this. So, oh God, I hope I get this name right. I'm Matthew phrasing hard. I should say Matt, right? Just read all the names so I can't get punished.
You're going to phrasey this name so bad.
Lionel, Lonell. I believe that's pronounced Lionel. All caps, man. This guy is stoked. He commented on actually the Football Chris show episode this morning. Jackson State University has 200 recruits coming tomorrow, ... for homecoming game. I think that's an FCS record. Coach Prime about to Nick Saban, the FCS, or the SWAC in the FCS. Watch what I tell you. 100 fire emoji, football emoji.
I love it, but I love this Dwight.
That's that photo is Kyler describing why he ranks the Ivies, and that's me in the background, just upset that it's happening. That's what we're seeing.
So you're saying you have an Ivy League education because the guy in the background went to Cornell.
Went to Cornell. You ever heard of it?
As Facebook user said.
But yeah, let's
these
talk
comments are the equivalent to college game day signs.
I love it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these 200 recruits because that is insane, and I want Dustin's opinion.
I mean, is it going to matter if they have a coaching change?
Oh, do you think he's gone real soon?
Do you think why would they get rid of Dion? They haven't been.
I don't think it's get rid of Dion. I think Dion might be going.
I think Dion will get bored with it. I think he'll do something else. Like I think he'll be like, "Hey, I came in as Coach Prime. I'm gonna do something else now."
Let's not forget Florida State lost to the feared Jacksonville State Gamecocks this season. Like Florida State in the hunt for someone like Dion. Who can get 200 recruits to an FCS game.
I mean, let's be honest though, from a recruiting perspective. I mean, if you're a guy and you have Deion Sanders recruiting you, that's pretty cool.
You go. You take the
like you go. You absolutely go. But I think it's awesome what Deion has done for Jackson State and for the SWAC and trying to help there. I think he's brought a lot of media attention to the conference that they deserved beforehand, just before. But I just don't see him hanging around that long. Like I don't see him being a long tenured coach there. I see him, take this and then like if Florida State comes calling, he'll jump, right? If I don't know, some other FBS school comes calling, he'll probably jump too, just because you would take that opportunity.
Might not be about money for him though. Might be HBCU connection, and he doesn't need it. He doesn't need fame. Might just be.
That was his take when he got hired. Was he's like, "Yeah, I'm not doing this for anything other than like giving back to my people." Like,
he's doing it to
SWAC. Remake HBCUs what they were.
Doing it.
Yeah,
like the SWAC, what they're doing in the SWAC right now with recruiting, with facilities, with getting coaches, with the donors that are coming in and really supporting all these SWAC schools and HBCUs. Who knows? Maybe even they're going to get an invite to the FBS. That is one of the things. I said this in the prior, that the momentum for the SWAC right now, I have never seen momentum like this for any conference. I don't care what level you're at.
It's killing the MEAC. They have that much.
Yeah, they basically killed the MEAC.
Like the MEAC isn't doing anything wrong. They just can't keep up. That's how good the SWAC is progressing.
The SWAC is going to be – they're a team – I selfishly want them in the playoffs just because I think the power that's coming to the SWAC, in a few years, they are going to be dangerous. The recruits that are coming in there, the money, the facilities. Do you see Jackson State's new practice facility? It was just posted on the page like 2 hours ago. Their practice facility, I don't want to make fun of Eastern Washington, but I'm gonna. It craps all over our real facility.
I'll make fun of them for you. It craps all over your real facility.
And they got stripes. There's another conference, or there's another team with stripes, but it's practice facility. But it looks so impressive. What they are doing there in the SWAC, I think we've never seen momentum like this.
But do you think it's going to carry over to the other SWAC schools? Because 2 hours north of them is one of the most struggling schools in FCS in Mississippi Valley, right? Whose facilities are basically falling apart and
until they called Jerry.
But I was like, yeah,
call Jerry Rice. Call Jerry Rice.
Jerry's the next guy. Maybe that the HBCUs, like, we talk not to get too far out of the FCS realm, but we're jumping 2 steps here and throwing 8 stones. But like, the Art Rooney rule, right? Like, we're talking about how not enough ownership in the NFL and coaching and everything is, not African American represented. Not that I'm saying this is how it needs to be or should be, but the SWAC could be that opportunity where you get some of these former players come back and prove like, hey, you know what? You guys don't want us through your little pearl ivory gates or whatever. Like, fine, we'll prove it here. And then when we start winning, the people with money that actually make these decisions are going to give us the chance, whether you're, the AD or the one booster doesn't want to. Like, I don't know. I think, like, you get Jerry Rice at Mississippi Valley State. You tell me they don't have their best recruiting class in the last 30 years since basically the last time he played there, right?
I mean, if you got Willie Totten, who was the quarterback whenever Jerry Rice played, then he's the other half of the stadium's named after. They would have the best recruiting class they've had in years too. I mean, anytime the SWAC is successful, it's good for football. It's good for FCS. It's good for everything. So I like to see it. So I hope the momentum doesn't stop.
Yeah, and I mean, right now the HBCUs have their own NFL combine. The NFL supporting the HBCUs, they're supporting the SWAC. If you get all of these big time players, because no other FCS team in the history has a type of NFL talent, like historically, as a SWAC's been able to produce. I mean, you look down the line, the top 5 programs in the FCS that have produced NFL talent are all pretty much SWAC teams, right? You get some of these big names that are actually diving back into the program and helping support the program and growing that brand. The SWAC is going to be so nasty. And I'm not just trying to say this to anyone's horns. It looks. Jump in, Facebook user. I have no clue who you are. But there was a fake Mark Zuckerberg that commented, which I thought was great. Zark Muckerberg. But yeah, the SWAC. I don't know who is going to stop this momentum.
Preston Adams is Facebook user.
Oh, my
bring
man.
Preston in. Bring Preston in. Yeah.
Yeah, let me see, Preston. I'm gonna try to drop.
I can tweet it. I can tweet him the link. Like,
don't public tweet it. We don't need everybody.
I'll private message in the link. Come on.
Okay, I'll leave that. I'll leave the producing to you. Dustin's gonna reach out.
Yeah,
but I was gonna say Jackson State though, like number 55 in the 247 Sports, which I get the FCS doesn't get well represented, but they're recruiting at FBS level. They're ahead of Kansas State, Duke, UCF, and Iowa State, and we're right behind Indiana somehow, and TCU, Arizona State, SMU, and Northwestern. Like,
insane.
I know it's not good to judge FCS, like when we're comparing like North Dakota State to like NAU, right, that gets really good classes, or Portland State. Like, that's not fair because North Dakota State's getting guys out of like Minnesota and North Dakota and stuff like that just aren't on 247's radars, or the Montanas. But Jackson State, when you're beating out Big 12, everyone. ACC, like WAC, Pac-12 to beat out Wazoo, to beat out Boise State. Like, I mean, that's legit. I mean, there's not an FCS school. What were they, 55? Closest FCS school,
like
Georgia
128.
Not FCS.
I think it was
anymore.
like 128 around there.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be an Ivy League school, probably. That was,
probably Princeton in like the like 108.
Hey, fake Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay, that was my question, Kyler. Before you go, Zark, you gotta give us a comment here, buddy. Is that intentional for like Facebook deceit, so like you don't give away your real information, or is your name is your legitimate name Zark Muckerberg? Because then it would be like Office Space when he's what's the musician he's named
Michael
after?
Bolton.
Michael Bolton. He's like, do you ever think about change it? Why should I change it? I'm not the one who sucks. One of my favorite lines ever. So, Zark, you got to let us know, man. But, Kyler, that's a good question on there, man. Is Weber State even any good? Are we just thinking they're good?
I think they're solid. The one thing about Weber State is they have been hit with the injury quarterback bug. Their first string went down. Their second string went down. Now their third string just went down. This is the first time since before the JMU game they actually have their starter quarterback coming back. And having a quarterback, this is my trolling profile, I love it. But having a quarterback come back like a starting, that's big at the FCS level, especially when you're going from a third string to a first string. There's such a big drop off from third to first. If Eric Berry went out and we have our third string in there, do I think we're gonna beat an Idaho? Probably not. So I think having the starters back, I think they're solid. But the bad thing for Weber State is they've already lost too many games. We're gonna find out for real if they are for real tonight, because MSU looks solid right now, and then they still have to come to Eastern Washington next week. Weber's not out of it. If they can win, they're still hopeful for a playoff chance. If they lose this, good luck, Weber.
Well, I was going to say I don't think that they could lose another game. I know that I just came in very late for the conversation.
What's up, man?
Yeah, we got to give you the intro, man.
Preston,
come on, man.
He's just going to start talking.
This is why we started FCS Friday nights. Is because we're like, let's get the page involved. Let's get some of the other podcasters, like, Splitting Hairs doesn't get to talk to Dustin. Like, let's get it on. But Preston Adams, most people know him from the page. Welcome to FCS Friday night.
Well,
I know you just you had this spider sense feeling. Like, I feel like those guys are talking about HBCUs. I'm gonna see what they're doing.
Well, Preston's
you know what? I only hop on Facebook every once in a while, but when it's Richmond Hate Week, I have to hop on Facebook.
I always forget you're actually a JMU guy too.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. But the things that you were saying about the SWAC, that's legitimate. That's all real stuff. They're going to be real. I think FAMU has a legitimate chance at a playoff spot this year. If they don't lose again, they're a playoff team because their losses are going to be to an FBS team and to Jackson State, who just boat raced Alabama A&M.
Yeah, it looked like Eastern Washington, Northern Colorado. It was 63-14 or something, right? It was
it was 61-15.
Yeah. All right. So not quite as good, but no, I'm just joking. 3 points. That's a huge, huge difference.
It was a beat them down. Which I'm always all for so long as it's in a good spot. But yeah. But I also wanted to mention, I know that everybody has to think about the Ivy Leagues, but there are schools like Rhode Island and New Hampshire that play the Ivy Leagues, and those wins are going to count for something.
Mm-hmm.
So you're more on the Kyler. You're on the Kyler train with that.
Which is why I think that it's. Even if you don't want to put them, totally in your top 25, I think you at least do need to acknowledge that those are good teams.
Yeah, my argument's always been how pissed you would be if you had one loss and then let's say it was to Princeton and it was a year where Princeton looked like a top 10 team, but we don't rank Princeton a top 10 team because we don't rank the Ivy Leagues.
Right.
Even though they're FCS and they count as a D1 win and they count as a playoff win, it's you would be kind of pissed if your team got shafted like that, right? They lost to Princeton. It's yeah, but Princeton's a top 10 team, but because people don't put a pretty number 10 next to their name, people don't know it. And so I've been as long as they're at the FCS level and they count as an FCS win, I think you rank them. Because at the end of the day, the top 25 poll doesn't matter towards the playoffs at all, which has always been my argument. It's who cares if, this year, Dixie State and Tarleton, I don't believe are eligible for the playoffs, but who would have cared, especially the way Dixie's scheduled? If they had won some games and they got ranked 21 at the end of the season, I don't think people should complain. They're not eligible for the playoffs, but they count as an FCS win. That's always kind of been my argument. If you're at this level, you can be a top 25 team at this level, and the poll has no bearing over the playoff selection committee other than ranked wins. And at that point, you'd like a team from an HBCU or an Ivy to be ranked, whether they participate in the playoffs or not.
The problem that, first of all, I rank them. I've said that on the podcast the other day. I rank them. But, the problem is they don't play a full season, right? They don't play as long as the other FCS conferences. They're coming in a few weeks later, and they're only playing teams that are a bus ride from them. They're not playing James Madison.
Sam Houston played 10 games as well.
I was just going to say,
I know. I know. Yeah. So I left that one off intentionally so I didn't get called a hater by Sam fans.
Preston just wait for that. He's just like,
I know.
He's locking and loading as it's coming.
Like,
I know that was good, but okay. Aside from Sam Houston, who took 2 byes because of the spring. I mean, every fall they're not playing a full schedule, and then they don't want to play in the playoffs. And I understand why. Kind of. I think the reason they give is kind of crap, and I said that too. But they're excluding themselves, and so I can see where people don't want to rank them because again, all they're playing is playing Holy Cross, who's great. Holy Cross beat UConn, but you also lost to Merrimack, right? Like they're not exactly playing.
Holy Cross is the northern Jacksonville State.
Northern.
we don't know what to do with them right
You're
now.
Hot,
and
I
cold. One of the only articles that I wrote for Hero Sports was for Holy Cross, so I have a special place in my heart for them, but I don't know what to do with them.
hey, Preston, let's talk about this next one from Garth. NCA&T, they transitioned from the MEAC to the Big South. They had a kind of a letdown game against Furman, and now they're starting to look the part again. Can we bring up that question?
Yeah. Sorry, hold on.
But because what was the question? It was, do you think A&T would have had a better showing this year? I'm guessing that means if they were still in the MEAC over the Big South. I mean, that's kind of how I'm interpreting this question.
I think he's asking more like, do you think they would have been better so far this year based off of current results? But I'll say my one thing, and then I want Preston to answer is kind of like what Chris said in his show today when I listened. We're only 6 weeks in, folks. We're only 6 weeks in. Sorry to interject, but Preston, man, what do you got?
Oh, no, you're good. I think that MEAC teams are better than their records are indicating. I think that they've played a lot of, as you all just said, very good SWAC teams. So, while they might be getting dragged by SWAC teams, that just is what it is. And I think that A&T is rounding into form. I wouldn't want to play in week 8 or week 9 because they're probably going to be, the best version of themselves then. They're going to be healthy and all that sort of thing. So
yeah,
I
look at it like this, right? Like the Furman loss. Yeah, that was unexpected because I think most people thought NCA&T with Martin, everybody, like they were going to probably beat Furman, but Furman showed out to be like a team that flirts around, a top 30 caliber-ish team this season. Right. Duke on the road, like you're going to lose to Duke on the road, especially on a short week. But then North Carolina Central University shocks the world week 0 when, they beat Alcorn State. They beat them 37-14. Robert Morris, a team that
Alcorn might be good too.
Yeah. And Robert Morris, a team that's notorious for getting spanked by teams, they beat them 41-14. But then North Alabama, not like a bad program, a building program. Like it's an okay win, 38-34, tighter than you'd want, but like they're on a 3-game win streak. So the season started rough, and I think it took some of that like hype off of them. But like NCA&T could close this season. I mean, you can
be as positive as you want, but it's a 3-game win streak on. I'll give them North Carolina Central. That would be if that was an out of conference schedule. The other 2 are just throwaways. It's like we've learned nothing. I mean, Kennesaw is the real. That's your real.
North
start,
Carolina
right?
Central is a rivalry.
Yeah. So North Carolina Central, I'll give them that one because they, that was a little bit of a shock in the beginning. They were better than we thought on on a medium scale, but it's got to be at Kennesaw, right? If they don't win that game.
They need to win that game. They do need to win that game.
Tomorrow at 5 p.m.
The Big South is looking like a one playoff bid conference right now. So
I don't see.
Monmouth looks bad right now. I mean, they regressed a lot. It seems like maybe they'll come back and beat Kennesaw, but A&T versus Kennesaw. To me, this is one of those things. You win this game
for the title.
You probably win the Big South title. You're going to the playoffs. I have one question for you, Preston, on this one too.
Sure.
How do you think, because we've heard a lot about A&T fans, and I love all of them. Amos, amazing. I love all the A&T fans and such a passionate fan base that has joined our group in the last 8 months. With the move to the Big South, we saw a giant push of A&T fans.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And you can see some of the rivalries when they're going back and forth. It's awesome just to follow some of the threads. But when you're watching this A&T team, this is the question. Do you think they are a team that can make a deep run in the playoffs? Since You follow the HBCUs quite a bit. You follow James Madison, of course, the CA, and overall the whole FCS landscape. You're one of the knowledgeable fan who kind of follows the whole FCS landscape. Where do you think what's the furthest this A&T team can go this year in their first year back in the playoffs?
If I'm being honest, I think that they would get to the quarterfinals at best. And that's not a knock on them.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of good teams at the
because
top.
I think that they would likely run into JMU, even as an 8 seed. And I think JMU would most likely boat race them.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a quarterfinals wouldn't be bad at all. And in Chris's own words, I learned a lot about the FCS. I thought we'd come down and at least go to the Natty because we were in the Sun Belt and had 6 wins and we were FBS. So, for NCAA&T to be right into the Big South and into the playoff matchup, a quarterfinal appearance isn't bad at all.
No.
I think they
could, they could do a couple of upsets. That would not surprise me. But once they meet one of the seeded teams, they're not going to match up, at least not this year anyway. They don't have the NFL caliber players that they've had in the past.
Okay. Preston, I got a question on that. I know I do the team series and all that, but what do you think about for bidding purposes? And of course, this is such a loaded question because who knows who's bidding.
Okay, thanks for putting me on the spot.
Do you think is NCAA&T the type of school with the backing, the financials and all that to where are they a guaranteed first round host every year where North Dakota States and James Madison's are throwing money at the wall? Or do you think that would kind of be up in the air on whether they would travel in that first round?
They're going to be like Eastern.
They might travel depending on who they're going up against, because they're probably going up against lots of Big South OVC schools who might not be bidding as much as NCAA&T might be willing to throw, because they do have an extensive alumni base. They have an extensive alumni base. I think that's one thing that folks underestimate HBCUs about is they'll throw money when it's necessary to throw money. And they'll probably throw more money at a playoff bid than Furman will. I'll just put it that way.
Hey, Preston, can I throw a massive curveball at you? Just
I
for
play
fun?
Baseball. What's up?
There we go. All right. Sam Houston, North Dakota State, Eastern Washington. Right now, you're a stats voter. Boom. Welcome to the poll. What are your top 3 teams? Because I know the other 4 squares on this screen are pretty all over the place.
And if you pick the wrong one, we are booting you from this chat right
I actually have him ready to get booted. So
wow, that's very nice of you all. I have Eastern Washington number 1. I think they have the best.
Boot him. Just kidding.
Yeah. Eastern. I mean, Sam Houston again, and it's not their fault. They just don't have the schedule right now. They just don't.
Yeah.
Which is too bad. The WAC ASUN looked like it would give them that potential, but some of those teams are just floundering.
I'm going to defend myself here a little bit because I'm the Sam Houston guy. I'm the one who keeps popping up with that number on that admin poll.
Yeah, it was not you.
You will not find a guy who is more anti, and as a Bison fan, is more anti don't use history or the past. However, if there was ever one time to do it, it's when every single starter, because of the spring season, comes back from a championship season. I don't need a resume. I don't need who they're currently playing because they're doing what they're supposed to do with a championship 22 starter roster.
Here's my one rebuttal. Can I have the rebuttal on that one?
So I got Sam Houston 1.
Because the thing is, I think polls are different than playoff seeds. I really do. I do not think you can look at them the same way.
Yep.
Because right now, I have no problem with Sam Houston State being number 1 in the polls. You can use the historic data. You can use the spring. You can use all their starters. But what happens in the spring playoffs? What happens in the playoffs? Home field advantage is so damn important. You saw them coming down to the wire versus every single playoff game they had. Could you say they would have lost on the road to most of those teams? Probably. Home field advantage is so important. So what happens is basically now you go like this. Okay, Sam Houston may be the best overall team. Do they deserve a 1 seed with the road that they had? Do they deserve to be a playoff home team compared to maybe another team who beat 5 ranked teams and an FBS team who has 1 more win than them? I mean, it's all hypotheticals on who wins out. But my difference is because last year, James Madison versus Sam Houston State. James Madison was a more proven team. Everyone thought prior to the year, James Madison was better than Sam Houston. Who was more deserving of that bid? The 2 seed. Sam Houston, way more deserving than James Madison last year with the schedule. And guess what? Do you think Sam Houston State beats James Madison in that same game, Bridgeforth?
Nope.
No, I don't think so.
So,
but I
so
also
playoff seeding, home field advantage is so important. So that's where I go. You can rank people how you want. The deserving team should get the better seed.
Villanova loses a game. JMU drops another. Montana and Montana State play each other.
I mean, honestly, we have to.
Idaho beats Eastern this weekend.
They may drop it. That undefeated returning cast, if there's enough 1 to 2 losses across the board, nobody else is undefeated. At best, you got 1 or 2 other 1-loss teams. They can trip back into that top 2 seed with home field advantage. I'm just saying it can happen.
So that's different when you're winning out and the other teams are losing. Then Sam Houston has the resume and they're deserving. But it's when you're comparing apples to apples with 0-loss teams or something like that. You got to go with the more deserving team for seeds.
Can we just take a second?
Let's go, Dustin.
Welcome, Jamie Williams, real quick. Welcome.
What a bum.
All right,
so
go ahead, Dustin.
I didn't think I would defend Sam Houston ever, but I'm going to. One, you're talking about the WAC and then the WAC Sun or whatever you want to call it, the AQ7. If SFA, if Central Arkansas, either one of those teams runs the rest of their schedule, then they're going to be 8-3, and then that win that Sam has gotten against both those teams is going to look better, right? But also too, like Dustin said in the comments, injuries that's going to be, I think, the true test of how good Sam is, because I mean, they beat SFA with Shoemaker in his quarterback. They only had Schmidt, I think, for half the game against Lamar. He's got banged up against UCA, and he's still on concussion protocols. They've lost. Jaquez Ezer got injured, was out the first half against Lamar. It's like you're starting to see injuries kind of pile up for Sam Houston right now, and so. Thankfully for them, they're in the easier part of their schedule because they're playing in Dixie State and Lamar. And I'm not going to say Jacksonville State's part of that because you never know what Jacksonville State's going to show up. But
let's say that.
Yeah, right. But I don't. If other teams, if North Dakota State were to lose the marker game, right? If Southern Illinois were to lose against someone somehow, if Eastern Washington were to stumble somewhere, then I think yes. Then they would probably slot into that 1 or 2 seed. But again, with that resume, and if these other teams stay undefeated, then Sam Houston doesn't have the resume. They can be number 1 in the polls. They'll be like James Madison last year, or in the spring. James Madison was number 1 in the polls, and they got the 3 seed. So I think you would see that be the situation that comes out of this if everybody at the top were to remain undefeated.
Which it's not likely.
That's the
whole thing. This whole discussion is all purely hypotheticals. Eastern Washington has a very tough road ahead of them. I do not think they're going to go undefeated. I said it in the preseason. We have a chance to beat everyone on our schedule, but we still play Montana State, Weber, Idaho, UC Davis on the road. We still play 3 top 15 teams in the ranking, 2 potentially top 10-ish. We'll see. So, I mean, Sam Houston has the easiest road to go undefeated right now. They already played the brutal part of their schedule, but I think polls and rankings are completely different than seedings and rankings.
It doesn't matter if Eastern Washington wins or loses. It has to be if EB3 wins, because remember, he's one of the most potent offenses in FCS. Not the rest of his team.
Guys, it's not going to matter. Eastern Washington's not going to be ranked in the top 6 after this weekend. All right, I'm just telling you now.
Oh wow!
Don't take that to the bank. I'm
going to go bet on Idaho right now.
You should.
No, keep your money in your pockets. I do not endorse what just came out of my mouth.
The graphic and meme, while dated, certainly shows we know nothing until it actually happens, as the pictures of the teams being shown are ones that ended up in Frisco that weren't in the preseason poll, in remotely of the top 5 at least. NDSU is an outlier there in 2012, but 2011 they weren't on the radar. And there you have Youngstown and James Madison. Those nasty spiders, Preston, they were ahead of you in 2016 to start the year.
We literally don't talk about the spiders this week.
It's like Harry Potter. We don't speak of
we don't speak of it.
Don't speak of it. So real quick, I just want to reward Dustin. Oh, sorry, Jamie. Actually, you came in, man. Do you have any takes real quick? You just got filibustered since you joined.
No, that's okay. I figured pop in for a few minutes on the phone, see how everybody's doing. Looks like
Jamie,
a fun show.
Take this one, man. Take the question on the screen. Will Western Illinois have a surprise win in the Missouri Valley this season and upset a ranked team? Dustin Perman.
Oh, that is a good question.
Do they play Northern Iowa?
Yeah, who do they play?
Got you.
That's the key.
I got you pulled in. They got South Dakota State at home, North Dakota on the road.
They do play
Illinois
Northern
State
Iowa
at home, South Dakota at home, and they end the year at Northern Iowa in the Cedar Falls.
South Dakota's ranked, right?
Out of that group, I'd say South Dakota.
Yeah, at Macomb.
Yeah, it's at home game, so yeah, I'd say if they're gonna lose to somebody to be beat somebody to be South Dakota, but I think they would probably put a scare into North Dakota, put a scare into Northern Iowa. I don't think it's going to be much of a scare this week. South Dakota State's pissed off.
Yeah, they're pissed.
Let's put it this way: they have about as much of a chance of sneaking up on one of these teams as they do going 0-5.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know with the game this week. I mean, weird stuff happens in Macomb. Anybody who follows Valley football will admit that, right? Don't
you have to land in like Iowa and then like a resort town in Iowa and like drive like 4 hours to Macomb?
Well, they almost beat Eastern. They almost beat Southern Illinois.
Yeah,
Western Illinois is not a good football team, but they are weird in Macomb. They don't give up. Like Matt said, they're the Marines. They got that fighting spirit. They do not give up. You think you shut them down, then they go, we still got 2 more quarters to play. I know you're done, but we're going to keep playing.
You're going to go into the Marine Corps home field. I mean, good luck with that. You know, Devil Dogs. People didn't know that they're the only one with the ability to put the Marine Corps mascot on there because of their lineage. That's pretty cool. They're my second team.
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, so it's pretty dope.
All right. Well, I was going to say we're coming up on the hour. We're about to have a kickoff on ESPNU, Montana, Weber State. So let's just do like a little Friday night FCS that's actually happening outside of our show. A quick around the table with the 6 of us. I know it's been covered by a lot of us on different shows, but while we're on here, can witness it. I don't believe Cornell and Colgate was a pick'em game, right?
I
do. Let me see if I can get the updates on my.
You think I'm smart enough to remember the pick'em games I choose?
I'm pretty sure it was, and I think I took Cornell. Either way,
good call.
It was.
Third quarter just ended.
Cornell is putting that beat 'em down on them right now.
34-14.
Yeah, that beat 'em down.
Is anybody taking Colgate for the 21-point halftime or 1 quarter swing?
No. Patriot League is terrible.
No, Patriot League's awful.
Oh boy.
If anyone picked Colgate that's on this panel, don't worry. I'll change your stats.
I would not have picked Colgate.
I probably did.
Yeah. I guess, Kyler, you can actually pull up the picks. All right, so let's talk ESPNU kicking off here in about like literally 20 minutes. Hermie is waving.
Oh man!
Now that is a college game day sign.
No.
First things
first.
Granny Smith apple is the best flavor. That's number 1.
Have you had the Cosmic Crisp though, that Wazoo made?
And
I'm just saying.
No, Tickle Me Pink is a better color crayon for edible arrangements than Granny Smith apple.
I didn't even know. Wait, what? There's actually flavored crayons?
No, this is just the colors, man.
I don't know, dude. Duck, Gray Duck, hot dishes. Like, I don't know what the Midwest does, man. Maybe there are flavored crayons.
I mean, Kyler's eating crayons. It says something about Eastern Washington if that's the case. Like,
how do you think the field ended up red? They had a student eating party of just violet red Crayola crayons.
There may have been accidents, but those accidents worked well.
Military context, yeah. Everyone makes fun of Marines for eating crayons because we are intellectually slow and like we like colors. And the Air Force is the chair force. I don't really know. Army, like you can't really make fun of them. Their abbreviation ain't really Marines yet, but that's nothing really to make fun of, I guess. So
look at the Marine above me.
Come make fun of my mom. See what happens.
Go get a Marine. You have after that comment, the one Marine on the panel can do whatever he wants.
I like Zark Muckerberg. I would be friends with that guy. So
I really thought it was.
If he's ever in Frisco, I'm buying him beers.
Let's all have guess who this troller account is.
That's Lawrence Smith.
I thought it was Brian Thompson because he keeps getting booted from the FCS group from actual Facebook. So I sent him a message, was like, "Is that you?" He's like, "No, man." so I have no clue who it's gonna.
It's be. Kelsey Hatch-Barrick.
It's gotta be.
She can't comment on hers because she's got to keep it professional now. She's employed by Eastern, and she's just here to Zark Muckerberg troll us, man.
I hope Zark Muckerberg is here every single time we do this.
He should be. Well, we're gonna try to make this a tradition. I know we're peaking at concurrent listeners, but we got like 5 minutes till we hit the hour, and we're gonna try to keep these at hour shows. So real quick, Weber State, Montana State. We talked about it a little bit. I want like final takes, scores. Kyler, you started off. Spread is still 1.5 Weber, over under 45.5.
I trust Montana State's offense more than Weber State's offense, and I think Montana State has a very solid defense who's going to give Weber State issues. I get they're coming off a very short bye week. Weber was on a bye in Montana State. They played early. I trust Montana State right now. Let me go Montana State 24, Weber State 21.
All right, we'll just keep rolling around clockwise. Preston, how about you?
Yeah, I would honestly echo the same sentiments. I unfortunately don't trust Weber, unfortunately for JMU. I'm seeing something like a 27-17. I just don't think that Weber can score enough. And that's what it comes down to.
Jamie, who stinks the most in this one?
Richmond.
Yes!
Richmond stinks. I want to please that person. I'm going to stick with what I said on the podcast. Weber State for the win. 21-17. I think the defense will show up after a bye weekend with Barron back. I think that will be enough for the Cats of the Wild version to win.
See, I'll just say, all right, I'm not going to throw names on the bus here because I really like the guys, but there's a Bobcat podcast I listen to and talk to frequently. Has two dudes with the same name. And they this week have just been complaining so much about, well, it's not fair. We get Weber on a short week after they had a bye week. That's like, man, I really want Weber just to like smoke them because like I just hate that argument. But then I'm afraid they're going to pull the whole spring season thing on us and be like, see, this game didn't count because we didn't play in it or some dumb thing. So I really wanted to lean Weber, but I think Montana State's going to win this. And I've been plugging it. The best Twitter follow in the FCS, Captain Matt McKay on Twitter. It's a parody account. Thank you, Jamie, for ruining the magic. Quarterback.
Sorry, buddy.
Matt McKay. Dearest mother, General Vegan has issued an urgent order to march south and secure the trading posts at the Ogden Rail Yards. With little rest, Bobcat Battalion now embarks for their perilous night raid, which could provide decisive in the war for the Big Sky Terriers. Your dearest Matthew. Bro, Bobcats. I mean, Captain McKay is leading his battalion to a Big Sky victory. The whole West is going to be conquered, and I'm sorry, Barney Ball might have saloon doors in his office. But Montana State's coming for the sky. I kind of like State this year. I'll go 30-24. I don't know how Weber's going to score 24. Maybe it's like all defense, but
how does Weber score 24?
They don't.
Couple scoop and scores.
They don't.
No, that's what JMU does when they go to Weber.
Fact. Dustin?
I just hope both teams have fun. Now on the podcast, on the podcast, I said Weber, really because they're basically their season, their playoff, any sort of hope they have, their backs against the wall at this point, right? Yeah. And they're at home and they're off a bye. If it had been on the road and without a bye, or even at home without a bye, I probably would give it to Montana State. But I'm sure they have spent the bye week prepping up for this. Maybe they found some sort of offense. I would. Weber, as close as you can get, a 3-point game. I don't know how they're going to score 24, but they're going to score 24-21. But I just really hope both teams have fun.
Defense. That's how they're going to score 24.
Unbiased price and admin, Matthew Frazee.
Well, my predictions are always based around emotion and not facts, which is why I do so well. You and
Kyler riffed well.
So I picked the SIU victory over SDSU. That one I researched a lot. I'm basically a genius. So, but honestly, I was going with Weber on the podcast as well, but similar to what I heard on the Chris football show, maybe it was the weather. Maybe it was something about that day where he had SDSU all year and he switched over to Sam Houston at the end.
Give me that
I'm not
yellow shot.
I'm not ripping my shirt off. I'm not asking for a Montana State tan, I guess, yellow shot, whatever color they use. But I'm going to switch, man. I'm going over to Montana State. You guys convinced me tonight, so I'm bailing on my Weber pick from the podcast. I'll go Montana State 28, Weber 10. I'm going to go bigger.
Ginger ale, jello shot.
Brent Vegan.
Man, do you like flip-flops, Matt? Because you nailed that one.
100%. Yep. I would love to live in a swing voter state. I do very well.
This is what Matt does on every single episode. So no matter what, he can do a clip from whatever one he picked right and was like, see, told you.
Dude, that's what I do. You hedge your bets. You pick the show you want to promote that week after you won. And then you pretend the other show, you bury it. You delete it. It doesn't exist.
Chris said he knows
that
marketing.
That was a different guy.
Chris said he's like, I know marketing. I'm like, I feel that. I was
about to say, you can make the North Carolina A&T fans happy for copious amounts of reasons, if for no other reason than North Carolina, come on and raise up. Okay, maybe that's just a song for me. I love that song.
I love it.
If we're going back to A&T, can we shout out Troy real quick though from the page?
Troy, shout out everybody.
Yeah,
I mean everybody. What are we at? What's the page at? I said like almost 10K.
90. Yeah, it's bouncing between 96 and like 95, 98. So
which is awesome.
Everybody invite a friend. You're gonna be standing to the left or the right of somebody at a home game today. If just half of our fans are at home and those fans invite one person, dude, we're sitting at 12,000. So do it. Thank you guys for tuning in to Friday Night FCS, the pregame. It's not quite college game day on Saturday mornings, but some would argue it's better. Tune in next week.
14-7 for Clemson versus Syracuse, by the way. Just got that update.
Hey, well, next week, if you guys join us, I'd like to keep these things going. If the folks are willing and joining us, we'll be joining Columbia versus Dartmouth about 2 hours in. So you don't want to miss our breakdown of halfway through Columbia and Dartmouth. That's it. Go enjoy Montana State. FCS is best. Thank everybody for tuning in and everybody for joining, man. Good times. And now we're going to listen to this beauty one more time.